I'm YaYa, and welcome to the Beginner's Playlist, the best easy watercolor tutorials out there. Today we're taking a trip back to Christmas again. Get ready to paint your way to Christmas with this easy watercolor advent calendar. We're going to make it simple, full of tiny watercolor illustrations. Think cozy mittens, Christmas trees, ornaments, and stars, one for each day of Advent. This is perfect for beginners like me who want a fun, relaxing project that builds holiday spirit a few minutes at a time. No perfection needed, just joy, color, and creativity, and maybe some Christmas carols on in the background. So let's go look at Christmas. So I was in the process of making this advent calendar for family and grandkids when I thought, hey, maybe to make a fun video, as I had fun making it. So you're free to tweak this to make it your own. Feel free to copy mine. The only condition is have fun and keep it simple. So as you can tell to begin with, I started with a red piece of cardstock that's 12 by 12 inches. So the first decision you're going to need to make is how to lay out your calendar. If you just want to make it one time for this year only, or if you want to reuse it. Because you can simply just start here and go 1 through 24 and not really make it a true calendar with days of the week and stuff. But I chose to reuse it. So I have 7 columns with days of the week, and I calculated how many rows I would need for 24 paintings if December started on a Saturday. So that's why my calendar has 5 rows on it. Then next, as you can see under here, I used my Uniball gold pen, links will be below, for the lines and lettering and a little bit of embellishment at the top. And so then I had to figure out how big to make the pictures. So I measured them and came up with 1.5 by 2 inches. I used my Kiwi Hub 100% cotton rough watercolor paper and cut them into those 1.5 by 2 inch rectangles. So we're not going to paint yet because we had to try some adhesives because some of them take time to dry. So I tried 3 and I want to show you what I liked and what I didn't like. So first up, I tried these Vimarock sticky dots, double-sided adhesive dots from Amazon. And I printed out the picture purposely to show you that they can be easily removed or repositioned without leaving sticky residue or damaging the surface. So here you go, even taking this off now, it's here you go. Need I say more? There you go. So I didn't use a page protector on this first one, and I used the dots. And I didn't exactly buy into their claim that there was no damage. So my suggestion is, if you're asking me, I wouldn't use sticky dots again. It totally destroyed the project and we had to start over. So the next thing I tried was some of this zig adhesive, and I've used that before and I really like it. It's called a two-way glue, and it's because if you put your picture on when it's wet, it's a permanent bond. But if you let it dry by itself, it becomes a removable bond. So I used the zig pen, as you can see on some of these dots here, but if you look closely, there's paint on them. And I had to do it 4 times to get this thick enough that it would hold watercolor paper because I used rough, and so it's not a smooth paper. So the zig pen, glue pen, did not work for us either. So my winner was the Scotch removable poster tape. It's a double-sided tape, and it was the best on the paper and the paint. So up here though, you can see I have some gold and I have some paint. So it was a really thick blob of paint, and I purposely did that. And this I couldn't tell if it was my paint or an acrylic marker. So what I did is I did another test down here, but first, before I did that, I coated them with the Jacquard Dorland's wax medium. And we have talked about this earlier on how to preserve some of your watercolor paintings. So when I did that, I couldn't see that it took any of the gold off into either one of these, and it did take there's a couple dots in there, but again, this is really thick, it's up in the corner, and I didn't have any that thick. So I like the Scotch adhesive the best, and that's what I used on the new calendar. And just another tip for you, when you put it on, make sure you press it down good. And the easiest way to get them up is to use a tweezer. I left one on here. And sometimes, let's see if I can do it. Sometimes you're going to pick up the whole thing, and you don't want to do that. So if that happens, put it down and try another corner. And most of them come off the first time, if I can get it backwards here. Nope. Again. And this is why you want to use the tweezer, and it pulls off, and that's what you end up with there. And they have stayed on there upright, and so I did like that. So as I mentioned, I wanted to reuse it, and I was trying to think what I could put on here to not damage the calendar and have to keep remaking it. So I had some of these page protectors on hand that I mentioned, and so I actually put the tape onto the page protector here, and we have a little bit of gold on there. But it's the acrylic, and you know what? As I'm telling you this, I didn't do the back side with the door line wax. So you may want to do both sides with it to help prevent some of that. But again, this is pretty easy to go over again with the acrylic marker. So finally, let's paint. So I started, as I mentioned down here, let's do it again. I started with the numbers first because I figured if I messed up a number, it's easier to redo the number than if I did the paintings first and then came to do the numbers and I messed up a number, I'd have to redo the painting. So I just made up one that has a wide side on each of the numbers, and I kind of did the same in the lettering at the top. So it was very easy. It did not take me long. I kind of copied these little, I don't even know, divots or whatever you want to call it, that I put up here too. I just put them on the numbers. And I didn't, if you can tell, they're not perfect. I have squiggly lines as usual, but it was fun, and it didn't take me forever to do it. So next, if you look at my paintings, some will be familiar, and they're all very easy. If you notice them, you know, we did a lot of the ornaments and trees of the past. And so what I did is I sat down and did the ones that I could from what we've learned. So like I did this one to begin with. I did this. I did the calendar. I did all the stockings. I did the house, the trees here, because we've done all those. A lot of them got the inspiration in the Christmas video. So when I ran out of ideas, I resorted to some inspiration from the videos on the 16 Christmas video. For example, Rudolph is from our Christmas video, like I said, and the ornaments and stuff. Then I Googled easy beginner watercolor Advent wreath tutorial, and I'll put that wording down below, and got inspiration from there. Just looking at them with the search results, you can get a lot of creative ideas. So if you find a later Advent calendar day tutorial, so for example, days 21, 22, 23, 24, at almost the beginning of all those videos, they will give you a glance of their calendar so far. So you don't need to watch 23 videos to get your inspiration. I didn't. So there were a couple in particular I liked, like the stocking is from a particular video, the mistletoe on here is from a particular video. I put those in the video list for you to look at, but that was just my inspiration. So this is what the completed calendar looks like, and I just want to flip it over. I wanted it to be rigid, so I used some of the adhesive tape, and I put a piece on each corner and in the middle, and put a piece of heavy cardboard on it, and pressed it down. And then, old-fashioned way for a picture hanger, I hot glued on a pop can tab that I just bent a little bit so it sticks out so I can put it on a little brad in the wall. And that's how I finished this off. And I lost the number there because I don't want to press it too tight. So let's go through the supplies I used on this one. So as I mentioned, any piece of cardstock will do. This is the size for my watercolor squares. You can make them larger or smaller depending on what kind of paper you used. As usual, we had watercolor paints and brushes. I did try the Zig 2-way glue pen, but I ended up using the Scotch removable poster tape. I used my gold pen, Uniball, and the acrylic markers for making the numbers. I also cut myself a flat piece of cardboard for the backing and a pop can pull for the wall hanger. So let's look at the best easy videos for this week. So there's the wording that I use for Google. You can just copy and paste it in your search engine, Easy Beginner Watercolor Advent Calendar Tutorials. And like I said, just the search results will yield a plethora of ideas. Next, I really like the DeWinton Paper Company. I put in 2 different years here, her 23 and a little bit further down, her 24. That's where a lot of mine came from. So especially the manger scene was on one of hers. She had it as a square. I made it a rectangle. You see from Emma Jane, I have her mistletoe, and I also used the stocking with the pine boughs coming out of it. Then I have a couple optional ones here just for fun. There was a easy watercolor. It was called Candlelit Lantern Tutorial for Beginners. And then another one was kind of interesting. She was painting this, Katya, I hadn't seen her before. She was painting everything in like red, white, gold, and green. And she was making all ornaments. I thought, well, that might be kind of fun sometime too if you don't have kids, is make an ornament themed calendar, and you could make them all ornaments, and you could stick to a color scheme or not stick to a color scheme. But I thought it was interesting, so I threw it in there just for inspiration purposes. So basically, remember, keep it simple and have joy in the process and enjoy the carols in the background. So you now have your very own watercolor advent calendar, handmade, full of heart. So don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with someone who needs a little holiday creative joy. And as always, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciated having you here. And let's close with YaYa's Irish blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May your heart be light, your colors bright, and may joy and peace fill you this holiday season. Until next time, bye.